Okay, so for today, we are going to cover until the first half. Okay, section 1, 2, and 3. So, but before we move on, okay, let's take a look at what we had covered so far. Okay, so in chapter 1, okay, we covered about general info on computer, isn't it? Okay, so this is in chapter 1. And then we move on to chapter 2, okay, in which we look into the hardware part, okay, of the computer. All right. So here we look at the input devices, isn't it? We look at input devices, and then we look at the CPU. Okay, what are the processor or the CPU in a computer system? Okay, or maybe I should draw it there. Okay, and then we also look at the what are the types of memory, okay, inside the computer system. Okay, and then also we look at the output devices, okay, in a computer system. And then also we look at the storage devices, isn't it? All right, storage devices for a computer system. So these are the hardware of a computer that we had gone through chapter 2. Okay, and also through our lab session. Okay, lab 1, we look at how to assemble, okay, the system unit. And through lab 2, we had gone through how to look at the specification of the computer. Okay, or in other words, we have looked at the specification of all the components for a computer system. And then we go to chapter 3. All right, so we look at chapter 2 for hardware. Chapter 3, we look at the software of a computer, okay, of a computer system. All right, so by now, I hope you are aware. So there are 2 types of software in a computer, isn't it? Okay, which can be grouped as system software and also application software. Okay, and then through these different kinds of softwares, all right, so we look at system software in which it is further divided into 4 types of softwares, isn't it? The first one is OS, operating system. The second one is utility program. Okay, and then we have a device driver and also other firmwares. Okay, so I hope you are okay with my handwriting. Okay, so this is the 4 kinds of system softwares that we had known. All right, but the specific software that we look at is OS. Okay, so this is what we had looked into in chapter 3. And then we have also looked at some of the examples of application software. Okay, and also examples of utility program. So this is in chapter 3. So now in chapter 4, what we are going to look at is, okay, once we already know about the computer and the software inside the computer, okay, so we look into how to network, okay, these computers together. All right, so we have many computers. Okay, how the computers is being networked and what are the elements for the computer networking, that's all. Right, so this is for chapter 4. Okay, so so what I share with you here is to let you know what we had covered through our course. All right. Okay, so let's take a look at chapter 4 about computer networking. Okay, so the first part of chapter 4 is computer communication. Okay, so what are the things that we need to understand in this section? Computer communication. So we need to know what is the meaning of computer communication. Okay, so what is computer communication? So from the term itself, Okay, computer communications is a process in which two or more computers or devices transfers data, instructions, and information. Okay, so this is the meaning of computer communication. All right, so I hope you can see through this illustration. Okay, so I repeat, computer communication is a process in which two or more computers or devices transfers data, instructions, or information, ataupun and information should be fine. Okay, so let's take a look here. Okay, so you see over here the okay, so computer communications, basically over here it states that it's a process in which two or more computers or devices transfer data, instructions, and information. So you can imagine that when we have two computers or devices in computer system, okay, so let's imagine we have one computer over here, COM1, and then we have a COM2, okay, computer 2, all right, so computer communications means it's a process in which the computers or devices transfers data, instructions, or information. So you can see the transferred data over here can be divided into either it is a data, okay, or instruction, right, or information. So these are different types of data that can be transmitted through two computers. Okay, so what are the difference between these data, instructions, and information? So usually we call something as data when it is raw. Okay, when it is raw. But then when the data is being processed to become something meaningful, so we call it as information. Okay, for example, if let's say we send a reading, okay, a reading of a temperature reading from this computer 1, for example. Okay, so we send a temperature reading, okay, which can be 36 degrees, okay, or 35 degrees, or 37 degrees. Okay, so these are temperature readings, let's say coming from computer 1, sent through computer 2. So this kind of reading, independent data, raw data, we call it as data. Okay, but then when this data is being processed to become a meaningful information, such that through this data, we know that someone is healthy, for example. Okay, so we have processed this data, and then through the processing, so we know that someone is healthy. So let's say this is a reading, a temperature reading of a human. Okay, human temperature reading. So we know that the human is healthy through this reading. Okay, so when this healthy data is being sent to other computers, so this data, we call it as information. Okay, so these are the difference between data and information. All right. So how about instructions? So instructions are different kind of data in which the send information or the send data is not data, it's a form of instruction. Okay, such as we want to instruct this computer to perform something. Okay, so that one we call as instruction. All right. So these are the three types of data that can be communicated in between two computers. So I hope you can see this. And this is when we talk about the data in between two computers. If you can still recall, if we talk about inside the computer itself, so we have also data being transmitted here and there inside the computer system, isn't it? Through the system, inside the system unit, we have the memory, we have the CPU, okay? So as what you had gone through, so that data, the data processed inside the computer itself, okay, that one can be divided into 3 types, isn't it? Based on the bus that we had looked into before this, okay, which is data bus, address bus, and also control bus. Okay, so these are 3 different types of data being circulated or being transmitted through inside the computer. Okay, but when the data is being transferred to or communicated to other computers, so these are the 3 types of data that being transmitted. All right, so I hope you can get some idea based on this explanation. Okay, so that's it about computer combination, the first slide over here. Okay, so again, let us recall back, what is computer communication? Computer communication is a process in which 2 or more computers or devices transfers data, instructions, and information. Okay, so the next one, in the next slide. Okay, so still under computer communication, what is needed for computer communication? So you see in the previous slide, okay, in the previous slide we had look at the transmission in between 2 computers as just a straight line, isn't it? Okay, but in reality that's not the case. Okay, in between these 2 computers we have communication channels. All right, so let's take a look at what are the components needed for computer communication, or what are the elements of computer communication. Okay, so there are 5 elements, or there are 5 things. You can say that 5 things, boleh lah. Okay, so 5 elements for that enable computer communication. Okay, so the first one we need a source. Okay, the second one we need a transmitter. The next one we need a transmission system. The fourth one we need a receiver, and the last one we need a destination. Okay, so each of these elements actually is things, meaning that for source we need a source, or the source of the data. Okay, in this case, when we are talking about computer communications, so the source and the destination are computers. Okay, so this is examples of source and destination, which is computers. Okay, so the source and destination can also be our mobile phone, isn't it? Okay, so when we send information from our phone to other phone, so it can be the source and destination. Examples in our context is our mobile phone. All right. So how about transmitter? So when we are talking about computer communication, so the transmitter here and receiver is the modem. Okay. So why do we say that? Okay, because a modem will convert the data from the source devices into the form that can be transmitted through the communication channels. Okay, so that is the function of a modem as a transmitter. All right. So what is communication channels over here? So communication channels is a transmission system in which we can visualize it as either wireless or wired media. Okay, so that is the communication channel. Okay, examples of communication channels. And then when the data need to be received by the destination, okay, so it first need to go through receiver first. So receiver over here, an example device is another modem. Okay, so what does this modem do? It will convert back the data from the communication channels into the form that the computer can understand.